November 22, 1963. Dallas, Texas. The president is murdered in broad daylight. For 62 years, the full story stayed locked in classified vaults, until March 18, 2025. Over 77,000 pages, once hidden forever, were released unredacted. What they reveal isn't the second gunman the conspiracy theorists craved. It's something far more disturbing. A shadow war the American people were never meant to see. The official story has never changed. Lee Harvey Oswald, a lone gunman, fired 3 shots from the 6th floor. The Warren Commission said it. Decades of investigations confirmed it. But why did the government bury thousands of files for over half a century? The public demanded answers. Presidents promised transparency. Yet the vault stayed sealed, until one executive order changed everything. These aren't dusty old memos. They are the raw intelligence files on Lee Harvey Oswald, the surveillance that followed him, and the shadow operations happening all around him in the final months of 1963. For the first time, we can read them without the government's black bars. But what do they actually show? Less than 2 months before the assassination, Oswald traveled to Mexico City. He visited both the Cuban and Soviet embassies, desperately seeking visas. The new documents give us deeper clarity on how closely the CIA and FBI were watching him there. Phone taps, surveillance reports, meetings with known contacts. He was on their radar, yet no one connected the final dots. The files reveal heavy monitoring of Oswald's mail, his Soviet defection history, and his movements. Some documents now fully unredacted show how deeply US intelligence had penetrated foreign embassies in Mexico City. Yet the system failed to flag the threat in real time. Was it incompetence, or something darker in the shadows? Here is where the files hurt. The CIA ran one of the largest domestic mail surveillance programs in American history. James Angleton's team opened, copied, and sometimes tampered with hundreds of thousands of letters. They even forged correspondence to spread disinformation. This wasn't about Oswald alone. This was a shadow state operating on American soil. The releases show the CIA had agents and assets deep inside Castro's government, including diplomats on the payroll. We now see poison sugar plots aimed at crippling Cuba's economy and multiple assassination attempts on Castro himself. These operations were running at full throttle while Oswald moved through the same world. Page after page, thousands of them. Historians who have pored over the 2025-2026 releases say there is still no credible evidence of a second gunman, a CIA plot to kill Kennedy, or a grand conspiracy to assassinate the president. Oswald remains the lone gunman, but the real revelation is darker. A vast shadow government engaged in mail tampering, election interference abroad, and espionage that would have shocked the American public. The secrecy wasn't just to protect sources, it was to hide practices that many would call a deep state. Of those 3 fatal shots still linger. One question refuses to die. Was Lee Harvey Oswald truly alone, or was he something far more terrifying, a man whose mind had been touched by the invisible hand of the state? To understand the deepest conspiracy theories surrounding John F. Kennedy's assassination, we must descend into one of the CIA's darkest chapters, Project MKUltra. Born in the paranoia of the early Cold War, MKUltra was the CIA's sprawling, top-secret mind control program. Officially launched in 1953 and running through the 1960s and early 1970s, it encompassed over 150 sub-projects across universities, hospitals, and prisons in the United States and Canada. The goal? Nothing less than the total mastery of the human mind. The agency wanted to develop techniques to control behavior, erase memories, implant false memories, and even create Manchurian candidates, programmed individuals who could carry out assassinations or other tasks on command, then forget everything. LSD was dumped into unknowing subjects. Hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock, and psychological torture were all tools in the arsenal. Many experiments were conducted without consent. Lives were destroyed. Some subjects never recovered. The Oswald connection theories. Conspiracy. Researchers have long pointed to Lee Harvey Oswald's erratic life as possible evidence of programming. A former Marine who defected to the Soviet Union, returned without punishment, and then bounced between pro-Castro and anti-Castro circles in New Orleans. He was monitored by both the FBI and CIA. His behavior in custody, calm, almost detached, struck some observers as unnatural. Some Theorists claim Oswald was a patsy, set up to take the fall while real shooters, possibly coordinated through CIA networks, carried out the hit. They tie this to MKUltra's interest in creating controllable assets, while no direct document from the 2025-2026 releases links Oswald to MKUltra experiments. The broader context of unchecked CIA operations fuels the speculation. Even more explosive are the alleged motives. President Kennedy had fired CIA Director Allen Dulles after the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion. He reportedly planned to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. He was pushing for rapprochement with Cuba and de-escalation in Vietnam. To some hardliners inside the agency, veterans of decades of anti-communist warfare, this was betrayal. The 2025 declassified files added fuel by revealing extensive CIA infiltration of Castro's circle, massive mail tampering programs on US soil, and covert operations that many Americans would have found unacceptable. While historians emphasize that these releases reinforce Oswald acting alone, they also paint a picture of a powerful shadow apparatus operating with minimal oversight. MKUltra's lingering questions. The program's documented ties to assassination research are real. Sidney Gottlieb, the chemist who headed MKUltra's technical services, was deeply involved in plots to assassinate Fidel Castro, including poisoning schemes. The overlap between mind control, research and wet work, assassination, has never been fully explained. Recent whispers in 2026 have only intensified the mystery. Whistleblower claims suggest the CIA moved quickly to seize boxes of MKUltra and remaining J.F.K-related files during declassification efforts under the new administration. Whether these actions were protective of sources or something more remains hotly debated. No smoking gun document has ever surfaced proving MKUltra was used in the J.F.K assassination. Official investigations, from the Warren Commission to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, found no CIA involvement in the killing itself. Yet the pattern of destroyed records, stonewalling, and admitted illegal domestic operations has left a permanent scar on public trust. The files released in 2025 and 2026 give us enhanced clarity on Cold War espionage, but no final closure. They show a CIA willing to break laws, tamper with mail, interfere in elections abroad, and experiment on its own citizens. In that world of shadows, the idea that elements within the agency might have turned against a president they viewed as soft on communism no longer sounds like pure fantasy to millions of Americans. Led by Patricia Gonzalaz, this investigation doesn't claim easy answers. It asks the harder question. In an era when the government was secretly trying to rewrite human minds, how can we ever be certain we know the full story of November 22, 1963? The vaults have opened, but some doors may still remain locked forever. The shadows don't just hide the truth, sometimes they reshape it. The mind is the ultimate battlefield. And in the war for America's soul, the CIA may have been its own worst enemy.